Let the lamplit brick squares of Savannah and a mild winter hush guide you toward sleep. Tonight, you'll come indoors to a quiet heater, a simple shelf to dust, and a warm cup of tea. A calm sleep story for adults, told in a soft, steady, unhurried voice. The night has settled into its slowest pace by the time you turn the corner toward your favorite square. Street lamps cast soft halos over the brick paths, and the mild winter air rests on your shoulders instead of biting at them. Live oaks lean in over the walkways, their branches draped with long strands of moss that barely move. The whole place feels like it has taken a deep breath and is holding it for you. You match that feeling without thinking about it. You draw in a slow breath through your nose, let your chest rise all the way, and then let the air slip quietly out through your mouth until your shoulders ease. The echo of your footsteps on the brick is steady and unhurried, a comfortable sound in the hush of the square. Somewhere, a single car tire hisses along a distant street, then fades. Windows around the square glow a gentle amber, some with curtains half drawn, some with the shapes of plants silhouetted against the glass. A porch swing on a nearby veranda rocks on its chain in the faintest breeze, creaking just enough to remind you that someone else is home and winding down too. Overhead, the sky is a soft, muted dark, not quite black, with just a handful of stars visible between the spreading branches. You pass a small fountain at the center of the square. The water sound is low tonight, more of a murmur than a splash, as if it also knows it's late and is trying not to wake anyone. The air is cool enough that you can see the faintest ghost of your breath if you look for it, but nowhere near cold enough to rush you along. You can walk as slowly as you like. There's no need to check your phone. No need to replay the day. The path you follow is familiar. The bricks under your soles worn smooth by years of walking, and your body knows every turn without your mind having to plan it. A soft thankfulness sits in your chest for that sort of familiarity, for streets that remember you and greet you with this kind of easy welcome. On the far side of the square, your building waits with its small set of steps and a simple railing. The paint on the door is a little weathered at the edges, but the knob turns easily, as it always does. Pressing the door open, you feel the gentle change in air. It's a touch warmer inside, a quiet, even warmth that doesn't rush at you, just meets you halfway. The faint hum of a heater somewhere in the background folds around the silence of the room. You close the door behind you with a soft click, letting the outside sounds dim to a small, distant layer. The muffled echo of footsteps on brick is still there, a few seconds behind. Someone else cutting through the square, but it's gentle and far away now. Inside, lamplight spills across the floorboards, leaving corners of the room in comfortable half-shadow. Your shoulders notice the difference before you do. You slip off your shoes and feel the smooth wood under your feet, warmer than the sidewalk but still cool enough to feel fresh. The fabric of your sleeves slides quietly along your arms as you shrug out of your coat and hang it on its usual hook. As each small weight leaves your body, the bag dropping to its place by the wall, the keys tucked into a dish, the day's small burdens put down, you can feel the whole evening tilting toward rest. You stand for a moment in the entryway and let yourself arrive. No rushing to the next thing, no list waiting on the table. Just this room, this light, this mild night settling around the edges of the windows. You take another easy breath in through your nose. Let it fill you up, and then let it go slowly, feeling your chest soften as you exhale. If you like, you can imagine setting the day down right here, as if you could take all of its noise and effort out of your hands and place it gently on a shelf by the door. There is nothing that needs your attention this minute. The night will go on without you managing it. For now, you are simply home, standing in a warm, quiet room in a mild southern winter, with nothing to do but move at the pace that feels kind. You step farther in, allowing the door to rest against the frame, and the room seems to receive you without asking anything in return. The light inside is just enough. A single lamp on a side table spreads a circle of soft gold across the living room, turning the wooden floor into a warm, muted glow. Shade edges blur the corners of the room, smoothing out sharp lines and making everything look softer, quieter. The bulbs are not bright. They're the kind that make you think of paper envelopes around the light instead of bare glass. Past the living room, a small kitchen opens up, its own light coming from under a cabinet rather than the ceiling. It washes the counters and the sink in a gentle stripe, leaving the rest of the space dim. The tile underfoot there is cooler than the wood by a few degrees, a subtle reminder that outside, January air is hovering in the mid-40s, not harsh, just crisp enough to make the warm patches feel special. Along one wall, the central air vent whispers. It isn't loud. It's the sort of steady, even sound you stop noticing after a while, a calm exhale of warm air that keeps the room from slipping into chill. When it clicks off, the quiet that follows feels almost velvety, and when it comes back on, the return is so smooth you hardly register it, only the way your hands stay comfortable and your feet never quite cool. Through the front windows, the square is still visible, but now it's framed by the glass and the thin rasp of the window frame. Street lamps outside cast their light through branches lined with hanging moss, drawing soft, wavering patterns across your walls. The shapes drift faintly whenever a breeze threads through the live oaks, like slow-moving shadows of lace. Every so often, a set of footsteps passes over the brick outside. You hear them as a hollow rhythm, softened by distance and by the solid wood between you and the street. Sometimes the steps pause, someone checking their pockets, someone stopping to look up at the sky, then continue on. They never hurry. This is a neighborhood that knows how to take its time after dark. From across the way, a porch swing gives a gentle creak as it shifts on its chains. It's not the sharp sound of rusted metal. It's more of a low sigh, wood moving against itself, as if the swing is also stretching after a long day. You can picture it without seeing it. A simple seat under a shallow roof, possibly still holding the warmth of the last person who sat there at dusk. Inside, there are details that quietly mark the place as morning and evening home. A small rug waits near the sink, its fibers flattened where you usually stand to wash dishes. The thermostat on the wall shows a number somewhere just below 70, a calm confirmation that you are in that comfortable window where you might still want socks but never a scarf. A pitcher sits by the sink with just enough water to refill a glass. Near the living room wall, a low shelf runs along the length of the room, the sort of shelf that gathers ordinary things over years. You haven't touched it tonight yet. For now, it simply holds its small collection of objects, catching the lamplight along their edges. Dust is there if you look closely, but it can wait. Everything can wait. The shelf will be there later, ready for a slow, simple moment when your hands want something easy to do. The furniture is simple and familiar. A sofa with cushions that remember the shape of you, a small table that has held countless mugs and books, a chair angled just enough toward the window to catch both the view and the lamplight. Each piece has its own quiet story, but none of them need to be told right now. Their presence is enough, a room arranged for living, not for performance. Out in the distance, you might catch the faint hum of a car making its way along a larger street, the sound softened by trees and brick and the winding layout of the old neighborhood. There are no sharp interruptions, only the occasional low rush of tires, just the occasional low rush of tires and the hush that follows. Somewhere farther away, a bell marks the hour in a tone so soft it feels more like a suggestion than a call. The air smells faintly of the day that just ended, a trace of whatever you cooked earlier, a hint of clean laundry, and underneath it all the gentle, woody scent of old floors and painted trim standing in the middle of the room. You can feel the layers of it. Warm here, a little cooler near the windows, still air in the hallway that leads toward the bedroom. You move slowly through the space, letting your hand trail along the back of the sofa, along the smooth top of the small table, along the edge of that waiting shelf. The textures are all familiar: polished wood, soft fabric, the slight roughness of painted trim. Each contact is a reminder that this is your place, held together by habits and small choices and quiet evenings, just like this one. Nothing in the room demands your attention. The lamp will keep shining whether you sit under it or not. The heater will cycle on and off without a word from you. Outside, the square will continue its quiet. Footsteps will come and go. A porch swing will shift in its own time. Inside, you're free to move as slowly as you like, to notice as much or as little as you feel up to tonight. The setting is there now, fixed gently around you, lamplit walls, mild winter air pressed softly against the glass, the hum and silence of a heater at rest, the occasional creak from a swing across the street. It's all in place, waiting calmly while you let the last of the day slide away. You stand for a moment in the center of the room, letting your eyes soften. Edges blur a little. The lamplight turns from something you look at into something you simply feel. Your body is here before anything else, waiting patiently for your thoughts to catch up. Your feet notice the floor first, bare skin resting on smooth wood, the faint warmth that has gathered from the heater's quiet work, the subtle give of an old board under your heel. You shift your weight slowly from one foot to the other, just enough to feel the different textures: a cooler patch near the window, a slightly warmer strip closer to the kitchen. Each small change in temperature is a reminder that you are here, now, in this room, at this exact point in the evening. Your toes settle, spreading a little as if they're trying to get comfortable and take up more of the floor. You let them. There's no rush, no need to be precise. The room will hold you however you stand. Your awareness moves up through your legs. You notice the fabric resting against your skin, a pair of soft pants that have been washed often enough to lose any stiffness. The fabric doesn't cling. It drapes, brushing lightly when you shift. When you breathe in, there's the faintest feeling of cloth moving with you. And when you breathe out, everything sinks just a millimeter lower, as if your clothes relax with you. Your hands hang by your sides, palms facing the floor. You wiggle your fingers once, a slow, lazy motion. Maybe they feel a little cool from the walk home, or perhaps they're still holding some warmth from keeping your coat closed against the mild night air. As you stretch them, small joints answer in quiet, familiar ways. No strain, just the sense of fingers waking up to the possibility of holding something warm and comforting. Your shoulders have their own story tonight. They might still be carrying the shape of the day slightly lifted, slightly forward, prepared to reach for tasks and messages and reminders. You notice this without judging it. Then, with an easy breath in through your nose, you invite them to soften. On the exhale, you let them slide down and back just an inch, enough to feel the muscles along your neck loosen. The fabric over your shoulders responds too, easing into tiny folds that weren't there a moment ago. You walk toward the kitchen at an unhurried pace, your steps making soft, padded sounds on the wood. When you cross onto the tile, the change is instant and clear, cooler, smoother, the faint sensation of the grout lines underfoot like subtle paths for your toes to trace. The under-cabinet light glows across the counter, inviting without insisting. You reach for the kettle with one hand. The metal feels a little cool and solid against your palm, its handle comfortably shaped to your grip. There's a simple satisfaction in the weight of it, in the slight tug on your arm as you lift and fill it. The sound of water running is low and steady, a brief, friendly presence that fades as you turn the tap off and set the kettle back. As you wait for it to heat, you rest both hands flat on the counter. The surface is smooth and pleasantly cool. You notice how your fingers spread automatically, how your palms adapt to the shape under them. You can feel the faint texture of tiny scratches and marks left from years of use, little reminders that this counter has been a quiet witness to many evenings. When the water is ready, the gentle sound it makes is more of a murmur than a shout, a soft indication rather than a demand. You pour it slowly over the waiting tea, watching the steam gather and rise. The first tendrils curl around your fingers and wrists, carrying a subtle scent of black tea and citrus, followed by the comfortable warmth of the cup as you cradle it in both hands. The mug fits easily, its curve resting against your palms, its weight grounding. The warmth spreads through your fingers, along the backs of your hands, into your wrists. You don't even have to lift it yet, just holding it, feeling that steady heat is enough to start untying the last little knots of the day. You add the smallest splash of milk, watching it bloom in the dark liquid, turning it a gentle, cloudy brown. The motion is slow and soothing, a small circle of the spoon, the soft clink as it touches the side, the way the liquid settles again into stillness. With the mug in your hands, you turn back toward the living room, noticing every small sensation along the way. The way the handle presses lightly against one finger, the faint heat radiating onto your chest as you hold the cup close, the whisper of fabric along your legs as you walk, the familiar dip in the floorboard just before you reach the rug. You lower yourself onto the sofa and feel each stage of the movement, the slight bend of your knees, the shift of your weight, the gentle give of the cushions as they welcome you back to a well-known hollow. The fabric of the sofa is soft and slightly textured, brushing against the backs of your legs. You tuck one foot underneath you, letting the other rest on the rug, toes curling gently into the fibers. When you bring the mug up for the first sip, the warmth brushes your face before the tea reaches your lips. The steam carries its scent right to you. Bright, soothing, familiar. You take a small sip. Nothing hurried, just enough to feel the heat on your tongue and the way it travels down your throat, warming a path into your chest. The sensation is simple and complete. For a moment, it feels like the whole evening exists inside that one gentle swallow. You set the mug down within easy reach, hearing the soft tap of ceramic against the table. Your hand lingers on the handle for an extra heartbeat, thumb resting along its curve. Then you let it go, fingers uncurling and settling onto your lap, where they find the fabric of your clothing again, smooth here, a little folded there, always forgiving. The heater hums quietly through a cycle, wrapping the room in a stable warmth. You can feel it along the back of your neck, in the way your arms no longer feel cool against the air, in the calm ease of your breathing. You sink a little deeper into the cushions, letting your shoulders follow the shape they offer, letting your head find a position where your neck doesn't have to work at all. Nothing in you has to be alert or on anymore. There's only the contact of your body with the sofa, the rug, the air, and the soft knowledge that your hands and shoulders have made it through the day and are now allowed to do nothing. Your presence in the room is enough. After a while, you lift the mug again, noticing that it's still pleasantly warm, though not as hot as before. The handle presses a little less firmly into your fingers now, and the heat is a gentle glow rather than a strong pulse. You take another small sip, tasting the soft blend of tea and milk, and set it down once more with a quiet, familiar sound. The room around you feels even more settled than it did earlier, as if it has adjusted to your pace. You rise slowly from the sofa, not because you need to hurry anywhere, but because it feels nice to move through the space at this unhurried tempo, to visit each small corner the way you might visit old friends. Your bare feet meet the wood again, and you start with the simple path you know so well. You walk toward the window, where the street outside is framed in pale light. The glass is cool when you touch it with your fingertips, a faint, clean chill that contrasts with the warmth of your skin. Outside, the square is calm. A few windows glow across the way. Branches hang quietly over the walkways. You stand there for a moment, watching a lone figure cross the bricks. The footsteps reach you as a soft series of hollow taps, slowed by distance. They move from one side of your hearing to the other and then fade, leaving the square empty again. Across the street, the porch swing gives a small creak, a single gentle note as it shifts. Then it goes still. You turn away from the window and let your hand travel along the wall as you walk, fingers brushing over the smooth paint, the coolness of the plaster beneath. Your hand drops to the back of the sofa, tracing the line of the fabric, then to the edge of the small table where your mug waits. You give the handle the lightest touch as you pass, just enough to feel the familiar shape. Your attention drifts naturally toward the low shelf along the wall, the one that runs the length of the room. It has been waiting all evening, gathering a thin, pale layer of dust that only shows itself in the lamplight. You move closer, noticing how the light slides across its surface and makes each object on it stand out in a quiet way. The shelf holds pieces of your daily life, nothing grand, nothing demanding, a small bowl that once held keys, a folded cloth, a couple of worn paperbacks, a simple framed postcard you like to keep nearby. Your fingers hover above the surface for a moment. Then you reach for the cloth, soft from many washings, a little faded, kind to the touch. You begin at one end of the shelf, letting the cloth move in slow, unhurried strokes. There's no push in your movements, no rush to finish, just an easy back and forth motion, gentle enough that the objects barely shift as you work around them. A faint line appears in the dust wherever the cloth passes, then the surface returns to its quiet, matte finish. As you glide the cloth along, your eyes fall on a small brass key resting near the center of the shelf. It lies there on its side, catching the lamp's glow along one edge. The metal is a soft, warm gold, dulled slightly by use and time, with a smooth, rounded head and teeth worn just enough to feel familiar under a fingertip. You pause your dusting for a moment and pick it up. The key is cool against your skin at first, then gradually warms in your hand. It has just enough weight to let you know it's there, to settle into the curve of your palm with a quiet sense of belonging. You turn it slowly between your fingers, watching the way the light slides along the tiny grooves and the small circle at the top. There's no need to think too much about where it fits or what it opens. Tonight, it's simply part of the room's gentle arrangement, a small, steady object that seems to hold its own calm. After a breath or two, you set it back on the shelf, this time in a spot you've just wiped clean, where it can rest on the newly cleared wood. Beside it, you notice a neatly folded linen handkerchief. Its fabric is a soft, muted shade, edges finished with tiny, careful stitches. The linen has a texture you can feel just by looking at it, a fine weave that suggests both strength and delicacy. You lift it carefully and run your thumb along one corner. The cloth is light and airy, yet substantial, cool at first, and then warming as it rests against your palm. There may be the faintest hint of a familiar scent in it from being stored nearby, something clean, maybe a trace of air from earlier days with windows open and curtains moving. You smooth it once with your hand, noticing how easily the small creases yield, and then lay it back down next to the key, the two objects resting side by side on the freshly dusted wood. You return to your slow work, guiding the cloth along the rest of the shelf, around bowls and books and frames, your movements easy and rhythmic. The small brass key and the linen handkerchief stay where you place them, catching the lamplight in their own quiet ways. They don't ask for attention, but they're there, steady and present, gentle markers in the landscape of the room. When you reach the end of the shelf, you let the cloth rest in your hand, folded over your fingers. You stand still for a moment, looking along the length of the wood, letting your eyes rest on the simple arrangement objects spaced just enough, surfaces a little clearer. In that pause, the room settles around you again. The heater has finished a cycle and gone silent, leaving the air very still. You can hear the faint ticking of something in the background, maybe a small clock, maybe just the quiet expansion and settling of the building's bones. Outside, no footsteps cross the bricks for a little while. The porch swing is quiet. The night holds its breath with you. You take an easy inhale, feeling your chest rise slowly. On the exhale, you let your shoulders drop another fraction of an inch. Let your jaw soften. Let your gaze drift just out of focus. The key, the handkerchief, the shelf, the room, all of it stays exactly where it is, steady and unhurried. After a few breaths, you turn slightly, your hand brushing the edge of the shelf one more time. The wood is smooth and a little warmer now from your touch. You walk back toward the center of the room, feeling the familiar path under your feet, the mild night pressing gently at the windows, the certainty that everything you've just seen, every object, every small detail will be right here, waiting quietly as the evening carries you further into rest. You stand again in the center of the room, the cloth still folded in your hand, the faint scent of dust and clean fabric lingering near your fingers. The shelf along the wall waits in quiet patience, not asking to be finished, not asking for anything at all. It's just there, a long stretch of wood holding the small, familiar things of your life. You turn back toward it because it feels good to move with a simple purpose. Nothing complicated, nothing urgent. Just one small task, easy to begin and easy to pause whenever you like. Your feet find the same path over the wood, boards giving slightly under your steps. The lamplight glows across the shelf, making a soft river of brightness that runs the length of it. Shadows gather underneath, cool and uncomplicated. You pause at one end and take a slow breath in, feeling your shoulders rise with it, and then let the breath slide back out, shoulders dropping as you unfold the cloth in your hands. The fabric hangs over your fingers, light, and obedient. You fold it once more, so it forms a thick, soft pad under your palm. Then, starting with a small section near the end of the shelf, you let your hand move in an easy, back and forth motion. The cloth glides over the surface, gathering a faint veil of dust that you can see only when it passes briefly through the lamplight. There's no strain in your wrist, no rush in your arm, just a steady rhythm, as soothing to perform as it is to watch. A short stack of paperbacks sits nearby, leaning slightly to one side. You slide them gently out of the way, feeling the smoothness of the covers, the firmness of the pages inside. The books make a soft sound as they brush against one another. Like a quiet sigh, you dust the empty strip of wood they leave behind, then set them back with a little more space between each one, letting them stand in a small, orderly row. A shallow dish holds a few everyday bits and pieces, coins, a button, maybe a tiny screw from something you once meant to fix. You pick up the dish, its edges cool and faintly textured against your fingertips. The underside is unglazed and slightly rough, a small contrast to the smooth top. You dust the circle of shelf underneath, then wipe the dish itself with a tender, circular motion. When you set it back down, you place it just a little farther from the edge, giving it room to breathe. Your eyes drift along the shelf, noticing small areas that could use a touch of care. A frame has gathered a thin line of dust along its top edge. You run the cloth carefully over it, following the frame's narrow ledge. Your thumb steadies the corner as you work, feeling the cool, firm edge under your skin. Off to one side, the small brass key rests where you left it, the linen handkerchief folded beside it. They seem comfortable there on the newly cleared wood, quietly settled. You dust the space just around them, letting the cloth pass close without disturbing them, then move on, letting your attention spread evenly over the entire length of the shelf. As you work, small changes begin to appear. The surface of the wood looks a little clearer, catching the lamplight more cleanly now. Objects that once crowded together are given a bit more space, their edges no longer touching. A tiny gap opens between a frame and a stack of books, between the dish and a folded note, between your key and the nearest corner. You find yourself straightening a few spines so they line up in a gentle, staggered rhythm instead of leaning at sharp angles. One book comes forward slightly, one slips back, the arrangement more organic than precise. Your fingers do this almost without instruction, responding to what feels balanced rather than what looks perfect. You pause now and then, not because you have to, but because it's pleasant to stop and look. Standing close to the shelf, you notice the grain of the wood soft lines running in long, calm waves from one end to the other. In some places, the grain is darker, in others, lighter, and your hand follows those lines as if tracing a slow-moving stream. The cloth gathers a little more dust. You refold it once, then again, creating a fresh, clean surface for the next stretch. There is a small satisfaction in that gesture alone. The neat fold, the way the fabric creases under your fingers, the sense of starting anew every few inches. At one point, you pick up a tiny object you'd half forgotten, a smooth stone, perhaps, or a small token from some other day. Its texture presses gently into your palm. You turn it over, noticing its weight and temperature, then set it back in a spot that feels right, neither hidden nor highlighted, just quietly included. The heater hums in the background, a soft companion to the slow movements of your hands. You can feel the warmth it brings in the way your bare arms no longer notice the air, in the comfort along your back where your shirt rests. Outside, a faint set of footsteps crosses the bricks again, then fades. The porch swing gives a quiet creak and returns to stillness. You move along the shelf until you reach the far end. There's no moment where you decide you're finished. The task simply tapers off, the way a conversation might gently wind down. One last section of wood gets a patient wipe. One last frame receives a careful touch along the top. Then you let the cloth rest in your palm. It's work done for now. Taking half a step back, you let your eyes travel the length of the shelf. The changes are subtle but easy to feel. The objects sit in small clusters, separated by open patches of bare wood. Nothing is crammed together. Nothing is perfectly lined up. It's a landscape of ordinary things, a little more visible now, a little more able to breathe. You notice how the lamplight plays differently across the surface with the dust thinned out. The glow seems to lift and spread, making the wood look softer, almost like a quiet path along the wall. The key and the handkerchief rest calmly in their spot, part of the whole, not calling attention to themselves. You fold the cloth neatly, once and then again, feeling the corners align under your fingertips. The square it makes is small and tidy, easy to hold. You tuck it into a familiar place, perhaps on the lower shelf or in a nearby drawer somewhere. Your hands will find it again without effort. There's no deadline met here, no task checked off a list. Just a shelf a little clearer than before, a room that has, in some small way, been gently tended. You feel that care reflected back at you, not as a demand, but as a soft, wordless thank you. You take a slow breath in, eyes roaming once more over the shelf, the lamplight, the quiet curves of familiar objects. On the breath out, you let your shoulders relax another degree, your jaw unclench a little more. The room seems to settle with you, its edges soft, its surfaces calm. When you turn away from the shelf, you do so at the same unhurried pace. Your feet carry you back over the wood, toward the heart of the room, where the small table with its waiting mug and the glow of the kitchen beyond invite you to take the next gentle step into the evening. The mug on the small table has cooled, its surface now only faintly warm under your fingertips. When you lift it, the tea inside responds with a sluggish ripple, quiet and still. You take a small sip and find that the warmth has faded more than you prefer. It isn't unpleasant, but you know how comforting a truly warm cup can be, especially at this soft moment of the night. So you carry the mug into the kitchen, letting your steps sound lightly on the floorboards. The under-cabinet light washes the counters in a low, steady glow, and the cooler tile greets your feet with its gentle firmness. The faint hum of the refrigerator joins the subtle hush of the heater, creating a quiet backdrop of domestic sounds. At the sink, you tip out the remaining tea, watching it spiral away in a small swirl before it disappears. The porcelain basin is cool and solid under your hand as you rinse the mug, the water running in a thin, clear stream. You feel the warmth of it on the backs of your fingers as you move the mug through the flow. A small spot of soap makes a delicate, sooty circle along the rim. You wipe it clean with 2 easy passes of a sponge. You set the mug upside down on a folded kitchen towel, letting any last drops fall away. The towel is soft and a little worn, its edges curling up slightly from years of use. While the mug dries, you reach for the kettle. Its handle is familiar in your grasp, the metal a little cooler than the air around it. When you lift it, It feels reassuringly solid, a simple tool with one clear job. The faucet runs briefly as you add fresh water. The sound is gentle, filling the quiet kitchen without disturbing it. You can hear the hollow change in tone as the kettle grows heavier, the water level rising. When it feels right, you turn off the tap and place the kettle back on its base or burner, depending on the kind you keep here. The click of the switch or the soft whoosh of heat coming alive is a small, satisfying signal, the beginning of your warm ritual, deliberate and kind. You stand nearby, one hand resting lightly on the counter's edge, feeling the smooth, cool surface under your palm. On a nearby shelf or in a shallow cabinet, a simple box of tea waits. You open it and the faint aroma of bergamot drifts up to meet you, bright and comforting even before the water touches the leaves. You choose a single bag or measure out a spoonful of loose tea into a small infuser, the paper crinkling softly, the dry leaves making the gentlest rustling sound. You turn back to the mug and flip it upright, its inside now clean and ready. The ceramic feels solid and friendly in your hands, with a thickness that promises it will hold warmth well. You place the tea inside and set the mug near the kettle, positioning everything so your next movements can be slow and unbroken. The kitchen fills with the growing quiet of anticipation. The heater may be between cycles now, leaving the air still and calm. The fridge continues its soft hum, and somewhere in the living room, a clock marks time with an easy, unhurried tick. Soon, the kettle begins to respond. A low murmur starts deep in its body, building gradually. You can hear small bubbles forming and rising, tapping lightly against the metal or glass. Steam winds its way out from the spout, faint at first and then more visible, curling up into the under-cabinet light like a thin, pale ribbon. When the water is ready, the sound changes a gentle, rounded fullness that tells you it's time without any harsh instruction. You turn off the heat and lift the kettle, feeling the weight of it shift in your hand, heat warming the handle, but not burning. You pour slowly into the mug. The stream of water is steady and clear, the sound softly rich as it fills the cup. The tea darkens as the water meets it, color unfurling from the bag or infuser in silky streaks of amber and brown. Steam rises in gentle waves, carrying the scent of citrus and black tea to your face, wrapping your senses in something both lively and deeply soothing. For a few quiet moments, you simply stand there and watch the steeping. The liquid swirls in slow, miniature currents, settling, changing. You may give the bag or infuser a light, careful dip once or twice, a small motion that feels almost ceremonial. Your fingers rest on the string or handle, feeling the soft resistance of water against the tea. When the color reaches that familiar, comfortable depth, you remove the tea and set it aside. The mug is warm now, its sides radiating heat into your palms. You turn to the refrigerator and open it. The door gives a soft, rubbery sigh, and a wash of cooler air brushes against your skin. Inside, a small container or carton of milk waits on a shelf. You take it out, feeling the chill of it against your fingers, the smooth sides beaded lightly with condensation. You pour just a small dot of milk into the tea, a brief, pale stream that blooms as it meets the dark liquid. You watch the swirl of color, the way the white spirals and folds into the brown, softening it into a gentle, creamy shade. The change is quiet but satisfying, a tiny piece of evening alchemy. You give the tea a slow stir with a spoon. The lightly rounded clink as the spoon touches the sides of the mug feels as much a part of the ritual as the steam itself. The handle presses comfortably into your fingers. The metal is cool where your skin meets it. When you set the spoon down on a small saucer or directly on the towel, it rests with a delicate tap. Both hands wrap around the mug now. The warmth is steady and deep, sinking into your palms, fingers, and knuckles. You lift the cup toward your face and breathe in, eyes half closed. The aroma is familiar, a gentle combination of bright and soft, the lively hint of bergamot smoothed by the milk, carried upward on a cloud of steam that brushes your cheeks and nose. You take the first sip with care, letting the tea touch your lip and tongue slowly. The warmth spreads inward, not rushing, just moving with the natural path of your swallow. It slips down your throat and settles in your chest, radiating outward in a quiet glow. You can feel the difference almost immediately, a sense of being warmed from within, as if the whole evening had been distilled into this one simple act. You stay in the kitchen for a moment, leaning lightly against the counter with the mug in hand, letting sip follow sip at a relaxed pace. The tile beneath your feet is still cool, but the heat from the tea balances it, creating a satisfying contrast. The under-cabinet light makes a halo around the mug, turning the rising steam into visible threads that curl and drift before disappearing into the air. When you're ready, you carry the tea back toward the living room. Your steps are slower now, the mug held close to your chest, the warmth traveling with you. As you pass the shelf along the wall, the objects there rest in their new, gentle order. The small brass key and folded linen are simply part of the backdrop, quietly present as you move by. You return to the sofa and lower yourself into the cushions, feeling them welcome you with their familiar give. One foot tucks under the other leg. The rug greets your toes with its soft, steady texture. You settle the mug on the table for a moment, then pick it up again, cradling it in both hands, as if you're holding a small, private lantern of warmth. Another sip, another wave of gentle heat. Your shoulders find their place against the back of the sofa. Your head tilts until your neck no longer needs to work. The room is quieter than before, the hour a little later. Outside, the square seems to have settled into an even deeper stillness. No footsteps on the brick just now, no swing creak. Only the soft, unhurried presence of a mild winter night pressing gently against the windows. The heater hums to life again, almost as if it had been waiting for you to sit down. Its sound is a low, even note, easy to blend with the rhythm of your breathing. You inhale slowly, the scent of tea and warm air meeting in your chest, and exhale even more slowly, feeling your whole body follow that long, quiet release. You rest there with your cup, aware of its weight, its warmth, the simple comfort of having prepared something kind for yourself with your own hands. There is nowhere else you need to be, nothing else you need to do. Just this lamp-lit room, this small American kitchen in the background, this soft chair, this gentle tea, this night that holds you as you drift further into rest. You sit with the mug resting lightly in your hands, the warmth soaking gently into your palms. The cushion beneath you holds your shape, familiar and forgiving. The heater hums in an easy, steady tone, like a soft breath that never quite needs to be noticed out loud. In the quiet, you hear your own voice, low and almost more vibration than sound. "That's better," you murmur, as much to the room as to yourself. The words are simple, drifting out and then dissolving into the air. No one else is here to hear them. They don't need to be. Your thoughts move the way the steam from your tea moves slow, curling, without sharp edges. You notice the heaviness in your limbs, the slight looseness in your jaw now, the way your eyelids feel just a little heavier than they did not long ago. You made it through, you think, or whisper, you're not sure which. That's enough for tonight. You watch the surface of the tea catch the lamplight, a small, calm pool. It trembles just a little when you shift your hands, then settles again. You listen to the quiet and let your mind match it, one piece at a time. This cup, this room, this night. Your inner voice speaks in small phrases, never in speeches. Little notes to yourself, like folded slips of paper left in the corners of your attention. You don't have to answer them, just notice. You take another sip. The tea is warm and smooth, the flavor gentle now, less intense than the first sip, more blended with the milk. You feel the warmth travel down your throat and out into your chest. Right there, you think quietly, aware of how the heat seems to rest behind your sternum. That's where it's softening. Your shoulders sink a little deeper into the sofa. The fabric behind you presses up in a quiet, steady support. You let your head tilt a fraction to one side until you find the spot where your neck doesn't have to hold anything on its own. There, you tell yourself silently, stay there. Beyond the window, you hear the faint pattern of footsteps on brick again. They move slowly across the square, each hollow tap softened by distance and night air. You imagine someone walking the way you did earlier, unhurried, hands in pockets, breathing out the last of their own long day. Everyone's finding their way down, you think. One small night at a time. The swing across the street gives a tiny creak, almost too quiet to notice. It sounds like a low reply to your unspoken thought, an easy acknowledgement that yes, the world is settling, one porch, one window, one room at a time. You look toward the shelf along the wall, where objects rest in their gentle new order. From here, the small brass key is just a glint, the linen just a pale shape. You let your gaze pass over them and keep going, as if your eyes are patting them lightly on the shoulder without stopping for a longer conversation. Everything in its place, you think, with no sharpness in the thought, not a rule, just an observation. The shelf in its place, the table in its place, your own body in its place, right here, warmed by tea and soft cushions and mild air. You feel your hand curl a little tighter around the mug, then loosen again. The ceramic sits securely in your grip, neither too heavy nor too light. You've done enough. That quiet, inner voice repeats, kindly. You don't have to do more to deserve this moment. The heater finishes a cycle and clicks into silence. The stillness that follows feels thick and gentle, like a warm blanket settling on the room. In that pause, you hear the small sounds more clearly, the faint ticking from somewhere near the kitchen, the soft breath of air along the window frame, the almost inaudible rustle of fabric as you shift one leg. Just breathe, you say to yourself, barely above a whisper. You inhale slowly, feeling your ribs widen, the fabric of your shirt stretching just a little. You hold the air for a heartbeat, not straining, just resting there, then let it flow out in a long, unhurried exhale. As it leaves, you sense your body softening a little more, as if the exhale is gently persuading every muscle to loosen its grip. You notice the way your fingers rest now, less tense around the mug, the way your knees lean slightly toward each other, the way your feet feel heavy and anchored where they meet the rug and the cushion. You're right here. That inner voice reminds you, you can let the rest go, for now. Another sip. You close your eyes for a moment and listen from behind your eyelids. The room sounds even softer this way. You can hear the faintest brush of your own breath, the almost silent clink when the cup touches your teeth if you're not careful, the subtle whisper of fabric as your chest rises and falls. You picture your thoughts as small leaves on slow water, drifting past without urgency. You don't need to reach out and grab them. You just watch, a memory of something you meant to do tomorrow, a passing wondering about the weather next week, a faint question about something you read earlier. All of it floats by, unhurried, unimportant in this particular moment. Not now. You think kindly to each one. You can come back some other time. Outside, the square seems to have settled into a deeper layer of quiet. No car passes for a while. No voices carry in from the street. The night holds steady at that gentle, coastal coolness, not chilly enough to ask anything of you, not warm enough to make the air restless, just calm. You tilt your head toward the window and let your voice slip out in the barest thread of sound. "Thank you," you say, not to anyone in particular, maybe to the room, maybe to the day for ending, maybe to the simple fact that you are here, with a warm drink and a quiet heart, and no reason to rush. The words land softly and disappear, absorbed into the walls. Your inner voice echoes them back to you in silence, turning them into a feeling that settles somewhere low and steady inside your chest. You rest there, between the hum of the heater and the hush of the square, between your own breath and the warmth of the cup, drifting deeper into the gentler layers of the night. Your gaze drifts again toward the shelf along the wall, drawn not by urgency, but by a soft kind of curiosity. The lamplight reaches that far, stretching across the floor and up the wood, enclosing the objects there in a warm, quiet glow. You lift the mug, take a small sip, and set it carefully down on the table. The tea is still warm, but no longer the center of your attention. You ease yourself up from the sofa, feeling the cushions slowly rise behind you as if they're also taking a breath. Bare feet meet the wood again, and the familiar floorboard near the table gives its small, predictable flex. You walk toward the shelf at the same measured pace you've used all evening. The room feels like it moves with you, lamplight shifting slightly along the walls as you pass. The heater begins another low cycle, filling the background with that soft, steady sound. When you reach the shelf, you pause and rest one hand lightly on the edge. The wood is smooth and a little warmer now than it was earlier, as if it remembers the path your hands traced while you dusted. You let your eyes travel slowly from one end to the other, taking in the quiet arrangement you left behind. They come to rest on the small brass key first. It lies where you placed it, on a clean patch of wood, its surface glowing gently in the lamplight. From this close, you can see the details again: the rounded head, the worn teeth, the tiny scratches that catch the light in a fine, scattered pattern. You reach out and pick it up, letting it settle into the curve of your palm. The metal is cooler than the air, but it warms quickly against your skin. You roll it once between your fingers, feeling the familiar weight, the smoothness on one side where your thumb has passed many times before. Holding it anchors you in two places at once. Here, In this lamplit room, feet on these floorboards, heater humming, and also in a quiet doorway on another evening, not so different from this one. You remember the first time the key was given to you, pressed into your palm with a simple, matter-of-fact gesture. In that memory, the air was warmer, soft with the end of a long day. You remember standing in a hallway with light spilling in from a nearby window, the walls carrying a faint scent of old paint and something vaguely floral. A hand guided yours open, placed the key there, and folded your fingers around it. There, a voice had said then, steady and kind, now it's yours. You hadn't known yet how many nights you would come home to a square like this, how many times the lock would turn with that small, perfect click, how often you'd be greeted by the gentle hush of this room. You only knew that having a key felt like being trusted with a piece of a story that was still being written. You breathe in, here in the present, and the memory settles like a soft overlay, the feel of the key now, the feel of it then. You turn it gently, watching the lamplight trace along its edge, and feel a quiet thankfulness move through you, not loud, not dramatic, just a steady warmth, like the tea in your chest. Beside the key lies the folded linen handkerchief. Its pale fabric looks almost like a small patch of light on the shelf, edges neat, corners aligned. You set the key down for a moment and pick up the cloth, sliding your fingers along one side. The linen is cool and dry, with a fine texture that reveals itself slowly as you move your thumb back and forth. You lift it closer and see the tiny stitches along the border, each one even and careful. They carry their own memory, the echo of someone's hands working patiently, shaping the edge into something that would last. You remember the day the handkerchief arrived in your life, passed across a small table, perhaps, or tucked inside a simple parcel. In that memory, you're sitting by a window with light pouring in, brighter and higher in the sky than tonight's muted glow. You unfold the linen for the first time, surprised by how smooth it feels, how it holds its shape, but still drapes easily over your hand. Maybe there was a note with it then, a few lines in looping handwriting, or just a small, thoughtful phrase. You don't have to call up every detail. What stays with you is the feeling that someone thought of you long enough to choose something gentle and useful, something meant to be carried, folded, unfolded, and kept close. Standing here now, you let the memory rise and sink in its own time, like breath. You smooth the cloth between your fingers and picture places it has traveled with you, slipped into a pocket on a warm afternoon walk, through shaded streets, resting on a cafe table beside a mug, folded neatly on a dresser while sun traced slow paths across the floor. You refold it along its familiar lines, following the creases that know exactly where to fall. As it collapses into its simple square shape again, you feel that same quiet gratitude for the cloth itself, for the simple comfort of something soft and steadfast, for the people and paths that placed it in your keeping. You set the handkerchief back beside the key, adjusting them so they sit comfortably together, neither perfectly aligned nor carelessly apart. The lamplight brushes both at once, catching the soft sheen of the linen and the muted glow of the brass. For a moment, you simply look at them, two small objects on a clean shelf in a quiet room on a mild night. They don't demand anything. They don't insist on meaning. And yet they carry layers of gentle history, evenings of turning a lock, days of tucking a folded square into a pocket, unspoken kindnesses woven through ordinary time. Outside, footsteps cross the bricks again, slower now, as if even the walkers have begun to drift toward rest. A low creak from the porch swing reaches you, then fades. The heater's hum continues, a calm, domestic heartbeat. You rest your fingertips lightly on the edge of the shelf once more, feeling the steady presence of wood beneath your hand. You glance over the rest of the objects, the small bowl, the books, the framed picture, all touched by a little more order than they had this morning, all sharing this same pool of lamplight. Your inner voice offers a simple sentence, quiet and true. You've been cared for, it observes, thinking of the key, the handkerchief, the room, the night, the routes you walk through the square, and you are caring back. The thought doesn't ask for attention, it just settles, like dust in a gentle beam of light, like tea leaves at the bottom of a cup, like your feet on these familiar boards. You take one last look at the key and the handkerchief, noticing how natural they seem in this place now, how at home. Then you step back, leaving them to their rest, and turn slowly toward the sofa and the waiting mug, carrying the quiet warmth of those memories with you as the night continues to soften around every edge. You stand there for another moment in front of the shelf, watching the key and the folded linen resting quietly where you left them. The lamplight pools gently across the wood, catching on the edges of frames and books, turning the whole length of the shelf into a calm, familiar horizon. You let your fingertips brush the front edge of the wood once more, a light, final stroke, like a closing line under a simple list. The dusting is done for tonight. Nothing more is needed. You turn away, leaving the shelf in its new, easy order, and walk back toward the sofa and the small table where your mug waits. The tea is still faintly warm when you lift it. You take a slow, unhurried sip, letting the softened flavor rest on your tongue before you swallow. The warmth is gentler now, more of a quiet suggestion than a strong presence, but it still finds its way into your chest. You notice how your shoulders respond, dipping just a little lower as you breathe out. Your eyes move around the room, landing on simple things, the cushion slightly askew from where you were sitting, the light throw folded loosely over one arm of the sofa, the faint outline of your feet on the rug. A few small, kind gestures of tidying feel right, not as chores, not as obligations, but as ways of saying thank you to the space that has held you all evening. You set the mug down for a moment and reach for the throw. Its fabric is soft under your fingers, with a familiar weight that falls easily into place. You lift it with both hands and give it a slow, gentle shake, letting it open fully. The fabric sighs through the air, then settles back over the arm of the sofa, each corner falling into a natural line. You smooth it once with your palm, feeling the weave under your hand. The cushions have dipped where you were sitting, holding the imprint of your body. You press your hands lightly into them and coax them back into a quieter shape, not stiff, just a little more even. They rise obediently, the air inside shifting with a soft, muffled sound. The sofa looks as though it is exhaling after a long, calm conversation. On the small table, a stray spoon rests near a faint ring of moisture. You take a folded napkin or nearby cloth and wipe the surface in a slow circle. The motion small and unhurried. The wood underneath reveals itself again, smooth and clean. You place the spoon on the kitchen counter instead, ready to be washed, and return the napkin to its place. When you lift the mug again, you know this will be one of the last sips. You tilt it carefully, feeling the slight shift of liquid inside. The tea touches your lips with a lingering warmth, and you swallow it with a kind of quiet ceremony, aware that this simple, comforting ritual is drawing to a close for the night. Carrying the mug to the kitchen, you listen to the hollow note of your steps on the floor, the gentle creak of one board, the faint change in sound when you step onto tile. The under-cabinet light still casts its whisper-soft glow across the counter. You rinse the mug with warm water, the stream soft and steady, then place it upside down on the drying rack or on a towel. The sound it makes when it meets the surface is small and solid, a simple final note. You glance around the kitchen, the clean sink, the kettle resting quietly now, the closed cabinets, the counter mostly clear. The room feels as though it has also had its day and is ready for rest. You run your hand along the edge of the counter in a single, grateful line and turn out the under-cabinet light. The kitchen eases into shadow, leaving just a faint outline of shapes and familiar angles. Back in the living room, the single lamp still glows, spreading its circle of amber across the floor and up the wall. You stand in the doorway and take in the whole scene, the sofa with its smoothed cushions, the throw neatly draped, the small table clear, the shelf in its settled order. Objects rest where they belong, quiet and unhurried. You feel an impulse to say something aloud, and you let the words come out on a breath. "Thank you," you murmur to the room, to the night, to the simple fact that this space exists for you to come home to. The sound is soft, barely more than a vibration, but it feels right, like placing a gentle hand over your own heart. The heater finishes a cycle and falls silent again, leaving the room wrapped in a deeper stillness. Outside, footsteps cross the bricks one last time, slower and farther away now. The porch swing gives a faint, single creak, as if someone has just risen and gone inside, leaving the night to itself. You walk to the window and gently adjust the blinds or curtains, allowing just enough of the square's glow to remain. The lamplight inside and the streetlight outside meet in a quiet balance, creating a soft, layered dimness that feels perfect for the hour. No harsh edges, no bright corners. From here, you can see the shelf along the wall again out of the corner of your eye. The key and the handkerchief rest where you left them. Small, steady shapes on the smooth wood, you leave them just as they are. Their presence a quiet reassurance that tomorrow, and the nights after, you will find them again in the same gentle light. You move to the lamp and place your hand on its switch. For a moment, you pause, letting your eyes travel once more around the room. You take in every corner, the sofa, the rug, the table, the shelf, the doorway to the kitchen, the hallway that leads toward your bed. A soft tide of gratitude rises in you, not in words, but in feeling, for boards under your feet, for a roof overhead, for a heater that hums, for a mug washed and set to dry, for this one calm night. Then, with a simple motion, you turn the lamp down or off, letting the room slip into a softer version of itself. Shadows deepen, but they are gentle. The shapes you know so well remain, just quieter. Light from the hallway or a small fixture near the bedroom guides you now. Enough to see, not enough to disturb. The evening has been put away, one small, kind gesture at a time, and the night is ready to carry you the rest of the way toward sleep. The softer light from the hallway leads you onward, a pale, steady ribbon that points toward rest. Your feet move slowly along the familiar path, the coolness of the wood changing subtly under each step. With the living room dimmed, the sounds of the night feel closer, but still gentle. The low hum of the heater, the tiny tick from the clock, the faint hush of air tracing along the window frames. You pass the open doorway of the bathroom and pause there, letting your hand rest on the frame for a moment. The light inside is soft, not bright, just enough to mark the edges of the sink, the mirror, the tiled floor. You flick it on if needed, and a warm glow follows, contained and calm. At the sink, you move through your familiar motions. The water runs in a quiet stream, not too cold, not too hot. You cup it in your hands, feeling the weight and temperature before bringing it to your face. The coolness against your skin is refreshing but not jarring, a clean, simple sensation that helps mark the shift from day to night. Droplets slide slowly down your cheeks, along your jaw, across your neck. You dab your face dry with a soft towel, pressing instead of rubbing, the fabric plush and forgiving. Each gentle pat leaves your skin a little warmer, a little more settled. You brush your teeth with slow, unhurried strokes, the quiet rhythm of it grounding, the mint or mild flavor familiar. The sound of the brush is soft, steady, almost like a small, private metronome marking time at a slower tempo. When you turn off the bathroom light, the hallway feels dimmer, but not dark. You can see the outline of the doorway to your bedroom just ahead, where a small bedside lamp may already be casting a faint, amber pool across the floor. You walk toward it, each step even and deliberate, as if your body is matching the decreasing brightness with decreasing speed. Inside the bedroom, the air is a touch cooler than in the living room, but still gentle. The heater's work reaches here, too, just enough to keep the chill away. The lamp beside the bed glows softly, lighting the sheets in a muted, comforting tone. You pause at the doorway and simply look for a moment. The bed, with its slightly rumpled quilt or blanket, the pillow, with its familiar dip, the small table beside it, holding whatever quiet items you like to keep nearby, a glass of water, perhaps, or a book resting face down, a bookmark tucked neatly inside. Everything is in its place, ready for you without expectation. You move to the side of the bed and smooth the top layer with your hands, feeling the texture of the fabric under your palms. It might be cotton, cool and soft, or something a little thicker, a little heavier, inviting your body to sink into its weight. Your hands make long, slow passes, not to erase every crease, but to invite the surface into a relaxed, welcoming shape. You pull back the covers, opening a space for yourself. The sheets beneath are cool when you touch them, a brief kiss of lower temperature that tells you they've been waiting quietly. You run your fingers along them, feeling the smoothness, the slight tautness over the mattress, the way they respond with a faint rustle. Before you slip in, you walk to the window. The curtains here are partly drawn, but a strip of glass still shows the night outside. You can see the suggestion of the square beyond the faint glow of a street lamp, the dark shapes of trees, a distant building with one or two windows still lit. You raise the sash just a little, enough to create a small opening at the top or bottom. A thread of outside air enters the room, cool and soft, carrying with it the faintest sense of the night, perhaps a trace of damp earth, old brick, distant greenery resting in the mild winter air. The breeze is too gentle to chill you. It only stirs the curtains in a slow, barely visible motion. From that narrow opening, the sounds of the outside world drift in at a comfortable distance. A car passes somewhere farther off, its tires humming quietly over the road before fading again. On the square, footsteps cross the bricks once more, slower now, less frequent, the day's last wanderers heading home. The porch swing gives a low, lazy creak, then returns to stillness. You close the curtain most of the way, leaving just enough space for the cool air to slip through and mingle with the warmer air of the room. The balance feels right, warm enough to be cozy under the covers, cool enough that the air around your face stays fresh and gentle. You turn back to the bed and ease yourself in, one knee, one hand at a time. The mattress accepts your weight with a slow, quiet give, the sheets smoothing under you as you lie down. You draw the covers up over your legs, your hips, your chest, until they rest comfortably under your chin or along your shoulders. The first sensation is of contrast, the cool of the sheets against your skin, followed by the slow spread of your own warmth. The more still you become, the more the bed seems to cradle every part of you. The pillow shapes itself around your head, supporting the back of your neck in the way it has learned over many nights. You place one hand on your middle, the other near your side or tucked under the pillow. Your fingers relax, curling slightly without tension. Your feet find their place, maybe brushing against each other, maybe resting apart, toes unconsciously seeking the most comfortable angle. The bedside lamp still glows gently. You turn your head and look at it, at the shade that softens the light, at the small pool it creates on the table and across the nearest part of the bed. This light has been with you on many evenings, opening and closing days like the cover of a well-read book. You reach out and let your fingers find the switch. Before turning it, you take one more slow, generous look around the room, the quiet window with its slight opening to the mild night, the outline of the dresser, the faint suggestion of the door back to the hallway, the way shadows gather in calm pockets along the floor. You feel the presence of the rest of the home, beyond this room, the shelf, the folded linen, the sofa, the table resting now, just as you are. You turn the lamp off. Darkness settles in, but it is not heavy. It is soft, familiar, layered with the faint glow from outside that seeps around the edges of the curtain. Shapes are reduced to gentle outlines. The room becomes a quiet envelope holding you in place. You listen to the night as it arranges itself around your breath. The heater hums through another gentle cycle and then falls silent. A small draft brushes your cheek, cool and kind. Somewhere, the clock continues its slow, steady tick, marking time that you no longer need to track. You inhale, feeling your chest rise against the weight of the covers. You hold the breath for just a moment, suspended in the stillness, then let it flow out in a long, soft exhale. Muscles loosen in layers: jaw, shoulders, chest, back, legs, feet. The bed receives that weight without complaint, without limit. The night outside continues in its own quiet way. Inside, in this mild, coastal winter air, you lie very still, wrapped in simple fabrics, held by a room that has been gently tended. There is nothing left to straighten, nothing left to wash or fold. Only rest now, spreading slowly through you, as steady and reliable as the hum of the heater and the distant, fading steps on brick. You lie very still, feeling the bed cradle your weight, the pillow cupping the back of your head. The covers settle around you like a soft, familiar tide, rising up along your shoulders. The air in the room is a quiet blend of warmth from the heater and a cool thread from the window, just open enough to let the night breathe with you. With your eyes closed, the darkness behind them is not empty. It is gentle and full, ready to hold small pictures that drift in and out without effort. You don't try to shape them, they come on their own, moving as slowly as the air that brushes your cheek. First, you see the square outside, the one you walked through on your way home. In your mind, the bricks glimmer faintly under the street lamps, each one outlined in a soft, hazy way. Live oaks lean overhead, draped in hanging moss that looks almost silver in the late hour. The branches sway just a little in a mild breeze, the moss trailing in slow arcs. Your inner eye watches someone stroll across the square, maybe you, maybe a version of you made of quiet and lamplight. The footsteps on brick are calm and measured, the sound hollow but not loud, carrying gently through the cool air. There is no hurry. Each step is like a slow heartbeat, steady and sure. In the distance of that inner picture, you can almost hear a small fountain whispering, the water falling in low, continuous threads. The sound blends with the faint rustle of leaves, the soft creak of a porch swing that moves once and then rests again. The square holds all of it, patient and unhurried, like a hand cupped around a candle flame. The image fades and shifts without any push from you. Now you are closer to the edge of the neighborhood, where the air seems to remember the river. You don't see the water clearly. You feel its presence, instead a broad, dark sweep beyond the buildings, holding the night sky like a mirror. A mild breeze wanders up from that unseen stretch, carrying a hint of damp brick and distant earth. In your mind, the breeze slides along narrow streets, finds its way between old walls and iron railings, passes through hanging moss and low, leafy shrubs resting in quiet beds of soil. It brushes the fronts of houses with tall windows and quiet porches, where swings hang still and rails remember hands that leaned on them earlier in the evening. The breeze curls around your own building and slips through the small opening in your bedroom window. You feel it touch your skin, cool but kind, mingling with the warmth that gathers under the covers. It carries no demands, no messages, just the simple reminder that outside, the city breathes at its own slow pace, even as you lie here resting. Another image rises, this one from within your home. You see the living room you left behind, the sofa smoothed, the throw folded, the small table clear, the lamp turned low or dark. The shelf along the wall glows softly in your memory, its surface clean, objects spaced with quiet care. Your mind lingers there, traveling along the length of the wood without needing your body to move. The small bowl, the books, the framed picture, the lines of the grain, and, resting among them, the little brass key and folded linen. In your earlier memory, the key was cool in your hand, light and firm. Now, in this late night image, it appears warmer, as if it has absorbed the kindness of the day you spent with it. Lamplight or streetlight, some gentle source, catches the metal, not sharply but in a soft, rounded glow. It looks settled there on the shelf, no longer a tool waiting to be used, but a quiet companion that has done its work and is resting. Beside it, the handkerchief lies folded as before, but in your mind, the lines of the fabric are a little less crisp now, softened by the hours. It seems to have taken on a faint sense of warmth, too, as if it has absorbed the gentle air of the room, the hush of the evening, the touch of your fingers. The linen no longer feels like an object waiting to be carried out into the day. It feels like a small, soft square of home. You picture those two items together, sharing the same patch of smooth wood, lit by whatever remains of the night's glow. They have traveled with your thoughts from the shelf to your bedside and back again, and at last they seem to be breathing with the space around them still, at ease, part of the room's quiet heartbeat. The image drifts away, and your attention returns to the simple sensations of the bed. The coolness of the sheet where it touches your ankle, the gentle weight of the blanket over your chest, the subtle pressure of the pillow under your neck, the air moving slowly in and out of your nose, your mouth, your lungs. Another cycle of pictures begins, even softer than before. The square appears again, but now it's emptier, the hour later. One or two windows glow faintly, others are dark. The branches of the trees are still, the moss hanging in quiet stitches against the sky. The fountain's whisper is lower now, as if it, too, is falling toward sleep. Your own building sits along the edge of that inner scene, familiar and steady. You can see, in your mind, the path you walked, the bricks leading to the steps, the rail, the door, the way your hand reached out and turned the lock. That moment feels different now, not just as a task, but as something tender your hand, your key, your door to warmth and rest. Inside, the pictures blur and soften. The shelf, the key, the linen, the sofa, the small table, the kitchen tile, the bedroom window cracked for the mild night air. All of it floats gently together in your thoughts, like pieces of a quiet collage that needs no explanation. They have accompanied you through this evening, and now they settle into the background, resting as surely as you do. You let the images grow fainter, not pushing them away, just allowing them to dissolve into the dark. What remains is the feeling they carry: steadiness, safety, mild air along old brick, soft fabric under your hand, a key that opens home, linen that speaks of care, a room that has received you with open arms and now holds you without asking anything more. Your breath moves in and out, slow and easy, matching the calm rhythm of those images fading into the night. The heater hums one more time, a low, even sound, and then the room grows even quieter, as if every corner has exhaled and sunk into peaceful stillness. You rest in that stillness, feeling the weight of the blankets settle evenly across you, feeling the mattress cradle every curve without question. The cool air at your face stays gentle and light, touching your skin like the soft edge of a cloud. Inside your chest, your breath moves in slow, smooth waves. Inhale, the faint scent of night air and clean fabric. Exhale, a long, easy release, carrying the last small remnants of effort away. Each breath arrives a little quieter, leaves a little slower. You are aware of the room in the softest way, the outline of the window, the curve of the headboard, the small shape of the bedside table, the quiet presence of the rest of the home beyond this door. Shelf, key, linen, sofa, kitchen, square, outside, all still there, all at rest. The heater's hum has become a low, steady backdrop, like distant surf turned down to a murmur. Footsteps on brick drift somewhere far away, if they happen at all. The porch swing is still. The night holds you gently in its mild, coastal air. Warmth gathers in the center of you and spreads outward, into your arms, your hands, your legs, your feet. Every muscle feels answered, every joint supported. There is nothing left to do, nowhere else to be. You breathe in once more, slowly, easily. You breathe out in a long, soft sigh that seems to carry the whole day with it. Wrapped in this warmth, held by these quiet walls, you float in a calm that feels complete, carried on your own gentle breathing into the easy dark.